Think of a perfect game. Now, think of perfect combat. You're picturing Sekiro, aren't you? I mean, how could you not? From Software is typically known for their clunky medieval RPG games, but Sekiro takes everything about those games and flips it upside down. The fluentness of each swing, the growth, the deflecting, and of course, the prosthetic arm. Let's not waste any time here. We'll start off with a little introduction of how the combat actually works in the game. At first glance, this game may look complicated or even intimidating, but once you really get going, it's quite simple. You have your attack, your block and deflect, thrust, and dodge. That's about all you need. I'm just playing. There's so much more to this game. While the general combat loop can be that simple if you really choose, it's still not as easy as it looks. Enemies actually have two health bars in Sekiro: their actual HP pool and their posture bar. Hitting an opponent directly will obviously lower their HP pool, but that's where the issue lies. They have the exact same moveset that you do, and this is where the posture bar comes into play. Instead of focusing on smacking the ever-living hell out of the enemy, you want to have a respectful and fluent duel, with you deflecting every attack they throw and striking every opening you get. After exchanging a few blows, the posture bar will fill up and the enemy will be staggered, giving you an opening to make the killing blow. All these same things apply to the player as well, so you better hope you can perfect parry. Oh, wait a second there, champ. You might not want to try to block that one. Yeah, so certain attacks like thrusts, grabs, and sweeps cannot be deflected. You either have to counter them or dodge them. The sweep can easily be countered by just jumping on top of the enemy's head like a Goomba, but I'll touch up on the other counters later in the video. For now, I'll let you guys in on a little secret about Sekiro. Don't treat it like any other RPG or Souls-like, at least if you want to be good. Because Sekiro is a rhythm game. Every enemy has a pattern, like a beat. It's all about timing. For example, this move looks pretty strong, huh? Well, let's look at it like a drum beat instead. Kick, kick, snare. It's really that simple. Pretty much all I'm getting at is that if you're an Osu, Beat Saber, or Friday Night Funkin' player, you're gonna be great at Sekiro. This strategy doesn't work all the time though, because it's still a From Software game at the end of the day. Some bosses like to take everything I just taught you and throw it right out the window. Demon of Hatred, for example, a boss I mentioned in my last video talking about boss fights. Check it out, please. Mr. Demon over here can be parried, but there's actually no point in doing so, because not only do you still take the splash damage, but you also get the burn status effect. So sometimes it's better to dodge attacks and wait for openings rather than making them. Almost all of Demon of Hatred's attacks stack the burn effect on you, and it's really annoying. So if I were you, just avoid this boss unless you really hate yourself. Burn honestly isn't that bad to deal with. Poison isn't super common either, thank God. Sekiro's main effect that you want to watch out for is the terror. Before we get into terror though, let's do a quick speed round about all the status effects in Sekiro. Like I said a second ago, burn isn't super common in this game, and is honestly mainly caused by the player. Deflecting burn attacks will still stack it, so the best thing to do is honestly either just tank it or run away. Poison is also a lot less common in this game compared to its Dark Souls brothers. Lizards have a poison gas, and there's like 2 small poison swamps that you can entirely avoid. So it's really not a big deal. Just like fire, I was the main person dealing the poison damage. Enfeeblement is only caused by one certain enemy, and it just makes you old and frail. It's annoying, but really easy to avoid. Shock is a big one that you have to watch out for, and it's actually used in combat a lot compared to the others, especially by the 2 main antagonists. Shock will stun you and deal a lot of damage to both your health and posture bar. To counter this, simply jump in the air and swing your sword as it strikes, causing you to reflect the lightning right back at them. Really easy and really badass. Finally, we get to terror. Built up by screams, souls, and insane aura, terror is Sekiro's overpowered instant death status effect, because every game needs one. You'd expect something so strong to be rare, but oh boy, you'd be wrong. When no human enemy can cause this, a ton of weird Japanese spirits and animals can. This is the perfect segue into our next discussion, the prosthetic tools. Since Wolf lost his arm in the intro, he had to get a replacement. Thankfully, the sculptor had just the tool for the job. With this new arm, you can grapple, throw hidden shurikens, and much, much more. Instead of talking about each variation of the different tools, because there's a lot, I'm just going to tell you about how you should be using the tool itself. Starting with the shuriken, you should really only use this against airborne enemies. It really doesn't deal much health or posture damage unless you're knocking someone out of the sky. C tier. Next, we have every new player's personal favorite, the firecrackers. Very useful to get a short stun on an enemy, but best against animals and beasts. B tier. The spring-loaded axe, my personal favorite to use due to its massive damage output and incredible animations. The axe is best used to break somebody's shield or even just stagger a fat guy. It's also just really good in general combat. A tier. Loaded spear. I see a lot of players use this, and quite frankly, I don't get the hype. It's great against the ape and at mowing down multiple enemies at once, but I just prefer the axe. C tier. The weird finger whistle. So this thing is actually pretty useless. It can stun Demon of Hatred like twice, distract an enemy, and piss off the dogs. That's really about it. It can be fun to play around with, but in an actual game sense of things, it's useless. E tier. Umbrella shield. Another go-to of mine. This foldable umbrella can be used to block and even reflect attacks. The other variants can block fire and terror damage, completely making it a must-have in every single playthrough. S tier. Divine Abduction. With such a hilarious name, you'd expect it to be really good, but it's not. The basic forms are used to fluster your foe, turning them around and giving you a free backstab. Not very useful, honestly. I only ever used a fully upgraded version that steals money from everyone it hits. D tier. The flame vent is exactly what it sounds like. A flamethrower. Very fun to use, but not very useful in actual combat. The main takeaway from the flame vent is that it can light your sword on fire. Oh my god, it's so awesome, but still C tier. The anime teleport move, or Miss Raven's Feather if you want to get all technical with it. Use this tool when you're about to be struck to teleport behind or above the enemy, giving you the upper hand in combat. This might be the best thing to have fun with in the entire game, and it's actually really useful too. A tier. And last, but definitely not least, we have the Sabimaru. No, not you. That's Zabimaru. I'm talking Sabimaru. This is a smaller katana that Wolf can spam till his enemies either posture break or get hit and stagger. Once fully upgraded, it'll also poison them even if they are blocking. It's very strong and good to use against almost every human boss due to its overpowering speed in combat. I love the Sabimaru so much. I'd put it somewhere between A and B tier. Since the player can't choose what weapon to use, the prosthetic tools are how the player can choose their own playstyle. Without them, the combat might be a bit stale and repetitive. The player can still choose to play without them, but on your first playthrough, you more than likely have to learn and adapt to each boss and location by using these tools. Upgrading them is also a nice side quest for the player to do, and isn't very challenging at all, unless you consider going into New Game Plus, like, 3 times a challenge. The other way a player can add personality to how they play Sekiro is with the shinobi arts and ninjutsu. Now, since there are a total of 42 different shinobi arts to upgrade, I'm not going to go over all of them. These are very crucial to the gameplay lovers, so here are the basics of the arts. There are 4 scrolls filled with stat upgrades, offense, and defensive techniques. Collecting the scrolls aren't very hard, and you'll most likely find them in a normal playthrough. To start out, let's just get some of the upgrades out of the way. The shinobi arts give the player access to upgrading their stealth, loot drops, increased spirit emblems, and even posture damage when performing counters. Spirit emblems are consumables used to use the prosthetic tool in both shinobi arts and ninjutsu. I didn't mention them earlier because most of the tools are fairly cheap, but the art forms will either cost half your emblems or nothing. It's really strange and annoying, and I think it's more fitting to mention here. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the offensive abilities. Sekiro gives the player so many different options to take out the opponent. If their player wants to fly through the air kicking, they can. If they want to pretend they're in an anime, they can. A lot of people's biggest complaint for this game is the lack of player choice when it comes to Wolf, but I really don't think they tried hard enough. Almost every move you see performed by an enemy, you can eventually use yourself. Moves like the Mortal Draw are incredible to watch, but it's even better when you do it yourself. Not to mention how overpowered that move is, especially because you can use it even when you run out of spirit emblems. The only downside is that a lot of them cost a shit ton, like I mentioned earlier. And while there are a good amount that cost nothing, those ones aren't as cool or fun. Now, just like Bloodborne, Sekiro has the option to sacrifice health in order to gain more ammo. You can only gain a total of 15 extra emblems until you rest again. Still very nice, but with how much I like to spam my abilities, it's not nearly enough. If you're watching this video to learn how to actually play this game for the first time, you're going to want to focus on the defensive side of the shinobi arts. None of these cost anything and are all passive abilities, already a big step up compared to the offense, right? Another improvement is that you get all of these in the same scroll, and thankfully it's the starting scroll. Abilities such as the Makiri counter, which allows the player to counter a thrust attack dealing insane posture damage, are very much needed in a playthrough. My personal favorite art is Breath of Life, which heals the player after performing a death blow. It could be argued as an offensive ability, but it's defensive. There's no argument. There are so many different and unique parts of these scrolls to talk about, but it's honestly best if you play with them all yourself and figure it out. I can, however, explain and show you all the new jutsu abilities in Sekiro, because there's only 3 very straightforward abilities. They all cost a nice chunk of spirit emblems and can only be activated in a backstab death blow. So keep that in mind. In order of when you acquire them, we have Blood Smoke. Definitely the worst of the 3. Killing an enemy and activating the ninjutsu sprays a cloud of blood which acts as a wall of smoke shrouding you from the other enemies. It's cool to look at or even play around with when in a crowded area, but overall, useless. The Puppeteer ninjutsu, on the other hand, is very useful. Puppeteer is exactly what it sounds like. You take over an enemy's body and they begin to fight on your side. Or, for certain enemies, they may trigger an event used to reach a secret area or find a secret item. In combat, it's kinda mid, but is needed in order to reach certain endings or achievements of the game. Our last and easily the best ninjutsu, Rivers of Blood 1.0, or Bestowal ninjutsu if you want to be PC about it. Your opponent's blood covers your blade, extending its reach by a very marginal amount. I also feel like it deals more damage. I don't think that's true, but it feels like it deals a shit ton more damage. While the other 2 are useful in crowded areas, this is by far the best at it. A nice hidden feature about this ninjutsu is the lizards. The green poisonous lizards instead cause your blood sword to become a poison sword, and the white lizards grant health per strike dealt. Both are amazing and super fun to look at and use, but the thing is, these lizards are nowhere near any actual enemy, rendering them borderline useless. I've been talking about how fun or cool everything is in this game a lot during this video, haven't I? But let's say, hypothetically, maybe you don't enjoy this game's playstyle, but you still really want to beat it, or you're just trying to learn to speedrun it. Well, here's a handful of the many cheeses or even skips of Sekiro. Sekiro has a much more freeing movement system compared to the Souls titles, causing a lot more inaccessible skips, glitches, and cheeses to be possible. There's one for about every boss in this game, and to be completely honest with you guys, I can't do half of them. They are frame-perfect jumps and actions that I just haven't been able to master. So instead, I'm going to show you some of the easiest to do. Starting off with a new game, this general you fight, you can actually walk past. There's no glitch, you just walk past him. The giant ogre, on the other hand, you need to kill. Or you can do the ogre skip by running into this wall, performing a delayed jump, and grabbing the ledge, taking you right into the next area. Yeah, I can't do this one, and I practiced for maybe 2 hours for this video, and I'm about to throw my controller. So I can, however, do the horse guy skip. Very simply, jump on this tower, and then delayed jump towards the ledge, and boom, you're free. This also leads straight into the blazing bull skip, which is a bit harder, but still easy enough for a new player to learn. But if you're actually a new player to this game, please don't do any of the skips and just play the game normally. I promise it's worth the pain. On its surface, Sekiro is a perfect game with flawless combat and an incredible world. But if you get a bit creative, you can easily take advantage of the tiny cracks in the code. What the fuck? What did I do? Perfect games are hard to come by. Perfect games with perfect gameplay, however, are much harder to find. Sekiro may limit the player's customization choices compared to the Souls titles, but that only makes the game better in my opinion. You no longer have to worry about your stats, weapons, or armor. All the pressure is on the player to learn and master the tools provided to them. Every decision matters in combat. Every swing, every deflect, and every dodge has to be perfect. If there is a game more fluent and swift than Sekiro, please show it to me. Until then, I'll stick to replaying Ishin 8 times a day. Really? Dude, I suck. Oh, I thought I died, dude. The prompt made me thought I'd... Yo. That's not... That's not on me, bro. Oh, fuck, I hit the wrong button. Shit.